Hi there, we're going to look at week 5 as a recap. Sending the Safe Learner Register vignettes, what they are and how to create one. A vignette is an image with like a darkened border around it or a lightened border around it, and it's used to kind of draw focus to usually the centre of the image. So let's have a quick look at that. I've got an image open in Photoshop. We're going to go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter up here. And these have little pointy arrows which open and close the effect windows, and the whole of the Camera Raw filter opens up as like its own separate window, which can be a bit confusing. And these effects, we've got texture, clarity, dehaze, vignette. Again, there's a little different looking arrow next to this, and if you open this it pops open, but if we turn vignette up we get a white border. If we turn it down we get a dark border, which is quite nice. We've also got some adjustments. We've got a midpoint adjustment which can draw it right in or bring it right out to the border. We've got roundness, which affects the shape or the roundness of the edges. Shocker. And feather, which goes between a sharp edge and a soft edge. What's nice about this? Highlights. What's this do? I think that just lets some of the lighter colours poke through the border. But one of my favourite effects in this is you turn down feather, adjust roundness, and bring in the midpoint, and it creates quite a nice picture frame effect, which is pretty good. And we can use this also towards our... Have we got creating a frame in this one? Nope. Smart objects. Let's do smart objects. Okay. Well, and once you're happy with your effect, if you click OK, the effect is then applied onto your final image. Right, smart objects and what they are. A smart object is a way of packing the complete image into the folder, so it retains its full amount of detail. And the way I will explain this, I'm just trying to zoom this in a little bit. There's my magnifying glass tool. There we go. That's nice. If I get the move tool, if I grab this image by one of its corners and drag it down really small, then press return to make the transformation, when I bring it back up, it's ditched all its information. Now when I press return, it does a thing called anti-aliasing, which kind of smooths it out and tries to fix it, but you can see we've damaged the image. So I'll step back a couple of moves. Let's use the history window for this for a change. This is up here, and we go to the original image. In fact, the history window is a good one. We can step through everything we did. So this is when we'd added the effect. So we'll go there. Once we've got our image like we want it, if I right click it, there's usually convert to smart object. There we go. Convert to smart object. And once you do that, you get this little tiny icon appears in the corner of the thumbnail there. Right, now, if I was to scale this one down as a smart object, scale it down small, hit return. When I bring it back up to full size, like that, see how it's got all its detail, it's not lost anything. It makes for a bigger file, but it's more use in that you don't really destroy things as you go along. The other thing you can do with smart objects, let's just do a basic demo of this. If I do some beautiful artwork, there we go. There we go. It's a shark on a tidal wave. If I select both these layers, hold down shift, select them both so they're both highlighted, right click, convert to smart object. Now I've made this a smart object with both things contained in it, so I can carry on adding layers and stuff. So I can add layers and go I don't know, Well, let's just pick a colour and just painting. But I don't like the shark drawing. How can I get back? We've kind of merged the layers together. If I double click my smart object, it opens up in a second window. So we've got the second tab here. And then I could turn that layer off in my smart object. When I close my smart object by clicking the X up here, it goes, do you want to save changes? And I go, yeah. And it closes, and you see it's disappeared. So it's a non-destructive way of working, which is really useful for not losing your original picture. Right, what else have we got on here? Rasterizing an image to stop it being smart. Now, some processes won't let you work on a rasterized image, which kind of steals some of this idea's thunder. But if you right click it and choose rasterize layer, it stops it being smart. See that little icon's gone? Now you lose at this point the opportunity to go back and tweak it like we did removing the shark, but it's handy. And just for your to remind you, a rasterized image is an image which has been made of little coloured squares. See the coloured squares if we zoom right in? The alternate is a vector, a vector image, not a Vespa. That's a motorbike, isn't it? Yeah, and those are made of paths. Right, so that's rasterizing an image to make it not smart. The selection tool and how to make selections and adjust selections. We may as well carry on with this. I think I might have an image for making selections. But let's say we just want to colour this berry in blue, right? Normally, if we get the paintbrush and blue paint, we go like this, and we go, and I've made a horrible mess of trying to fill it in. If we use some of the selection tools, in Photoshop we've got a whole range of selection tools. Object selection tool, let's see if we can make it do the little picture. It's not doing any of it. Object selection is one of the newer ones. If I just draw a box by left clicking and dragging over this berry, Photoshop will use its AI abilities to select the area we wanted. Now this has the advantage. Can you see this? We've got these little dots around it. These are what we refer to as marching ants. I'm just going to turn my paintbrush down a bit and turn the flow down on it, which we'll get into later. And now when I start painting, because I've got a selection, I can only paint in this area. And if I get the erase tool, let's say, and just do some erasing, it only erases in this area. You see I've gone right through to the checkerboard, which is showing that's right, the alpha layer. And I can step back using the history tool to before I deleted my berry. I can use Control Z to do that. We can paint on with my brush. Now, at the moment, if let's say I wanted to start painting over here, it won't let me, and it's only because the things which are in the marching ants, which are these dotted lines, are the only area you can paint in. To paint as normal on the rest of the image, we would need to do select all. So it's select all, shortcut Control A, deselect Control D. So if I do Control A or select all, can you see we've still got the marching ants, but they're all the way around the edges of the picture now. So you can see I can just paint on the edges, but we can also paint everywhere. And if I do Control D, which is select none, we get rid of the selection and I'm just painting everywhere. Now another way of making a selection, we instead of using the object selection tool, current Photoshop has got all these little videos which pop up. If you press play, it'll give you a little recap. And you can watch those and learn a bit independently. Independent learning. Right, so that's the object selection tool, where you drag a box around a thing. Quick selection tool is a little bit more basic. I'm using the square brackets, which are on the keys to the right of the P on the keyboard, to make the brush bigger or smaller. It wants to be a little bit smaller than the object you're trying to select. So let's try and select this berry here. If I left click, can you see it's jumped out and it's tried to detect the edges? And if I move my cursor around, it will expand the selection, so I can go like this and it will jump to 3 objects. If you look very, very closely, it's hard to see, it's got a little plus inside it. The little plus inside it equates to this button up here, which has a plus, and it's also got a minus. To change it to the minus, you can press the Alt key and you'll see it change, and you'll also see it change up here. Now if you set it to the Alt, then you can subtract from your selection. So it's handy keeping your finger on the Alt key, so you can go bigger, 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 gone too big, smaller. Now, the selection tool needs to be smaller than the thing you're trying to select. So if I wanted to select this little stem here, I would need to use the square brackets to make the brush smaller, and then I can kind of select that area. Let's just get a paintbrush on to see what we've selected. So you can see we can select this bit and this bit. We've got 2 separate selections existing at the same time. And to deselect everything, Control D for deselect. But they're also up here. Select all A, deselect D. And we've also got inverse, which will swap the selection area you've got. Selection tool, how to make adjustments to selections. Select everything, that's Control A, Control D. Applying effects only to a selected layer. Right, so something else we're able to do if we want to affect an image. Let me just select one of these berries. Let's got a berry selected. If I go to my filter, let's use one of them we've already used. So we've got the layer with the image on. If we go to hue saturation, the hue saturation thing appears, and we've got a slider on it, and you can see we're just changing the colour of that single berry, and we can saturate it and increase it. What it's actually made here, which we talked about a little last week, is a mask. Let me just show you the mask full screen. You see that? That's just the shape of the berry. And like Zorro or Batman, you can't see his face because there's a black mask on it. And where the eye holes are, you can see his eye. There we go. So we've applied an effect to just a selection there. We can paint on the mask, which I think we did a little bit of last week. Now, it's mostly a black mask, so we want to paint on it in white. On the left here, if we've got the paintbrush selected, we've got a primary and a secondary colour. The primary one here is white and the secondary one is black. And if we switch foreground and background colours, then we can have black primary. You can also use the X key for this. So if we're drawing on a black mask, we want a white brush, otherwise we won't see it. So if I start painting here, you can see we're doing that hue saturation effect, but we're just kind of painting it over a specific area. And if we look at our mask, you can see where I've kind of painted it on. Right, that's the short version. Right, we'll leave it there because otherwise it'll wander on for too long. Thank you for watching.